You want to go first? You sure you don't want to go first?
It's your stage, baby.
No, because I don't want to hear no blah, 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 that phony baloney. Yeah. I don't want to hear any disrespect. If you want to go first, just go ahead. Now, if you want me to go, just let me have my moment, and I will be good to go. We good?
Yeah.
All that sign ain't necessary. 70% on the defense, 30% on Dak. Because as I said on Friday, the Cowboys will be cowboying. That's what they do. I was told that this team is only going to go far as Micah and the Marauders take them. Let me see how many yards the Micah and the Marauders gave up. Would you believe they gave up 503 yards? They gave up 7.1 yards a carry against a team that had not beaten a team from the NFC dating back to 2018. In 20 attempts. 2018, so 18, 19, 20, 21. Damn near 5 years.
Yep.
We got a large sample size on Dak Prescott. He is inconsistent. Oh, but Dak, what does that have to do with this? 7 years, Dak Prescott is inconsistent. Let's just go ahead and set that right over here. Dak is inconsistent. That's been established. But I was told this defense was going to be historic because all I heard, 2,000 Ravens, these great defenses. Bruh, y'all need to start worrying about being historic and worried about playing the game. You had a 17-point lead. You had a 14-point lead probably about a month ago, and you gave that up. 17, 14. Not a historic defense to me. Now, Dak Prescott was sensational in the first half. I was nervous. 15 to 16, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then the picks. Dak has been playing bad as of late. 11 interceptions and 9 starts. He had 10 all of last year and almost 600 pass attempts. 11 picks, including 8 in the past 6 games. That'll get you beat. They should have lost last week. The Texans had them on the... But when you're 1-11-1, I think they're 1-11-1, 1-12-1 now, you do bad things, you end up losing the ball game. But I'm going to put 70% of this on the defense because no matter how bad Dak played with those 2 interceptions in the third quarter and overtime, he did give this defense, this historically great defense, to talk historically great, a 17-point lead. But the guy that you guys missed the most is Anthony Brown. Because you saw what Zay Jones was doing to that other corner, boss man Fat, ate his lunch. Y'all are in trouble. Now, I know you're going to try to dress it up. I don't really care about this game. I picked the New Year's Christmas Eve game against the Eagles.
I don't think I've spoken yet.
You're going to try to dress it up, but it ain't going to work.
Can I speak for myself?
You can. It ain't going to work. Go ahead, take off.
Are you finished?
I'm done.
It is my turn. Obviously, I was disgusted by much of what I saw yesterday because there was one bad sign after another, after another, after another. I did see much positive, especially in the first half when they led 21-7, which leads me back to my contention going into the game that my team has been looking ahead to the Philadelphia Eagles actually since the game in Philadelphia, in which they trailed only 20-17 early in the fourth quarter with Cooper Rush at quarterback, and my defense could not stop Jalen Hurts on 3 straight third downs in that game way back when at Philadelphia. My team wants Philadelphia, 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 and I kept telling you it's dangerous, dangerous, dangerous. My man, Micah Parsons, 11 from heaven last week is talking about Jalen Hurts, not about Trevor Lawrence. And this is what I got for it because it's the classic, all-time, are we there yet? Are you guys going to quit now? No, they're not going to quit because they had just won 3 out of their last 5 games. They had just won at Tennessee in one of the more impressive and stunning wins of the whole football season. Yep. Trevor Lawrence isn't coming of age. He has come of age right before your very eyes.
Very impressive.
He is all of a sudden emerging as a top 10, dare I say, quarterback because he is difficult to deal with because he's about 6 feet 6 inches tall and he can escape and he can run and he can throw on the run and he's got a little flair and he's got a good swag to him, and you can just see That's who they drafted #1 overall,
Yes.
and nobody disagreed with it because that's who he was.
Correct.
It took a while for them to all start to figure it out, but they've been drafting high, and there's talent all over the field, and they are a tough out when you need to take care of business at their place just to get to your Eagles game on Christmas Eve. And obviously, 21-7 at halftime is just not enough because they're not going to quit at home because they feel way too good about themselves. But speaking of my defense, over the last month, I have not been thrilled with my defense. I've told you again and again, where are the sacks? What happened to my Micah? He's ghosting us. He's getting quieter and quieter. I did see, I saw a little bit of flash and a little dash from Micah yesterday because he had an early sack and he had a couple of hits on the quarterback. He had a couple of near misses later in the game, but he did not get home. He had 1 solo tackle and 1 assist. It was a little better than usual because for the previous 2-3 games, he had been next to nowhere. But who was lost on the very first series of the game? My leading tackler was lost. Leighton Vander Esch, I don't know if anybody's been watching but me, but over the last month, he has played at a higher level than Micah Parsons has. He just has.
No, he's played good all year.
Yeah, he has. But over the last 3 weeks, he's been their best defensive player because before that, we would all, Micah Parsons was leading the defensive player of the year race. And all of a sudden, on the first series, guess what happens? He's had neck issues. He had neck surgery 4 years ago. He hurt his neck again. It is an upper spinal injury. He was born with spinal stenosis, so he has a narrowing at the top of his spine. So he is prone. He is vulnerable to these kinds of injuries, and they wouldn't talk about it last night because I think they were too afraid to talk about it, but they got to go home and do all the imaging and figure it out. But it does not sound good. And if I've lost Leighton Vander Esch, the Wolf Hunter, I got problems.
Well, he's definitely your best run stuffer, and that's why he wears that cowboy collar, so his neck doesn't go all the way back.
It looks badass to me, but it didn't help him yesterday. And then back to Boss Man Fat. He is my weakest link, and he became the weakest link to the point they yanked him from the game after he gave up a 59-yard bomb. They went to that kid, the second-year player, who was, what was Nashawn Wright? At one point, he was like a third-round draft pick out of Oregon State. And he's long. He's about 6'4". But he was finishing the game, and then in overtime, it looked like he got concussed on when they stopped Jacksonville when they got the opening kickoff in the overtime. So then he's lost. So speaking of Anthony Brown, I'm down to like my 4th string corner now, unless they put Kelvin Joseph back in the game, and I'm going to close my eyes if we do that. Okay, so in the end, to your point, 503 yards. It took overtime to get to 503, but it's still 503. 192 rush, I can't live with that. 8 of 12 on third down, I can't live with that. 3 of 4 in the red zone, I can't live with that. They can't live with that. Turn it over 3 times on the road, I can't win that way. So all of the above, I give you. They did sign T.Y. Hilton last week, and I'm about to get to why maybe if they had him up and running yesterday, maybe this wouldn't have happened. If he's as good as they've been crowing about, maybe he would replace Noah Brown in the game.
Well, that's my point. I think Dak Prescott has a lot more confidence in Noah Brown than I do. Because it seems to me that he's throwing to him in crucial situations, but he probably should be going to C.D. Lamb. That's what I was thinking. But, Skip, even if you were to take the interceptions away, you cannot give up this kind of rush yards. You guys have been prone to rush. Your rush defense has been a liability all year. And now you let Trevor Lawrence throw for 318, and you mentioned go 8 for 12 on third down. You're going to lose ball games like that. You're going to lose.
Okay. And that made it 14-0. Then they have a response touchdown. It's 14-7, but he hits Noah Brown with the little touchdown pass, 21-7 at halftime. And here we go into the second half. And Trevor Lawrence throws an interception. Deron Bland, who's been all over the field, he's been a bright spot. He picks it off, and yet they go 3 and done and have to take a field goal at that point, and it made it only 27-10, and that's where there are too many 3 and dones. There are too many times when you have a chance to step on their throat and make it 31-10, and all of a sudden, if it's 31-10 at that point, it just feels different. It's almost like the Minnesota game. I'm watching it on Saturday, and they have a chance to score a touchdown at the end of the half that would have made it 37.
Yeah.
And somehow it felt different to me. 37 versus 33-0, even though you say they can't come back from 33-0. Well, they did.
Right.
That's it. All you need to do is float it up for him. And he did, and that was the end of that. Okay, so now Dak gets backed up, and he gets sacked -8, and this is what he did against Houston, and he did it again yesterday. This is where you swing the door wide open to the underdog home team, and you say, here, run through the door, and he throws the pick that I think turned the game around. It's the kind of play you cannot make. It's what you and I both do agree on, Dak. He just makes too many of those kind, and you say he's just middle of the pack, Dak. And I want my team to get to the NFC Championship game for the first time in 27 years, and if you're going to make throws like that, even one a game, it's going to cost you somewhere. They're in the playoffs. They're going to be on the road, almost certainly. It'd take a miracle to catch Philly now, obviously. But if you're going to go on the road, I don't even care if it's at Buccaneers versus Brady and their decimated defense. You can't do that.
No.
If you do that, it will cost you in a playoff game.
But look where he's turning the ball over, Skip.
Deep.
I mean, you gave
Deep.
Last week it's on the 4-yard line.
Yeah.
This week that was like 20.
It reminded me of the very same play. So obviously they go right in and they score, and all of a sudden it's 27-24.
Now you got a ball game. You got a fight on your hands.
Ball game, and then they come right down and they score to Zay Jones again on a 3-yard pass, and it's 31-27. And then this is what baffles me about Dak Prescott. It's always great and bad, great and bad, great and bad. And he comes right back with an answer of 75 yards and 13 plays. And it looked like, okay, we have seized control back, right? All of a sudden, we're up 34-31 with 3 minutes to go. And then what happens? A fateful play happens where I'm dancing. I'm thinking, I got this now, because Trevor Lawrence escapes and he's going for 11 yards. And I'm thinking, this is really bad. And he doesn't switch the ball from right hand to left hand, and he just exposes it. How I feel about this, because we second guess. If you hit that play, well, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Okay, it's going for the throw. You know?
But Skip, that's,
okay,
I mean,
it's
when
not
you're throwing
smart.
the ball 40 yards down the field.
It's just not smart. Even if you run some route to CD that you trust,
right,
and you throw it up for him to even jump ball him where he has a 50-50 ball that he can go snatch. Right. I would trust that a whole lot more than I would trust Noah Brown on a 40-yard pass up the sideline.
Skip, all you want is a situation for them to burn that last time out.
That's it.
Just stop trying to
run a draw play, if you run any kind of running play, and just give in to the time management situation. So who am I going to blame on that one? I'm going to blame, please drop the Mike McCarthy.
Right.
Because somebody's got to make that call, and it's got to be McCarthy, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what is the head coach's responsibility, even if he doesn't call plays?
No, don't run. Hey, run the ball.
As Jimmy Johnson used to say, I tell Norv Turner, run or pass. It's just up to me. It's you. You are the head football coach.
Correct.
You don't call plays. I'm not sure what you do, but in this situation, you have to say clock management, which he has little to none of. Clock management, run it, force the third timeout. Maybe we got him.
What if Dak was in the second half like he was the first half? He had gone 15-16, 100+ yards, 2 touchdowns. Okay, he's hot like that, Skip. I'm more apt to say, okay, because he is dealing now. He only missed 1 throw in the first half. But you look at the second half. Except
for the 75 yards and 8 plays. That was the only one where I told you he throws an aberration at you where you get caught up, you get fooled, you get teased. You do. You look at it and say, where did that come from?
Skip, you've seen that for 7 years. That's why we keep labeling him inconsistent, but you won't believe what your eyes telling you.
Well, I do. I've never been the biggest fan. I tried to be early on, but I'm not anymore.
But even when he shows you that he's inconsistent, you say, well, this Dak is going to be different because those other years don't have anything to do with this year. This is who he is. A 7-year sample size. There's some medical fields that don't do a 7-year sample size, and you live with the results. Okay. This is a 7-year sample size.
It's a 7-year sample size. I buy it. I hear you. And quick point of order as we go out for the overtime coin flip, help me out. You played this game for a long time at an extremely high level. Well, me too. I always say, and it's not mathematical, but there's something about heads. There's just something about heads. They send the long snapper out, a kid named Overton out, who hadn't been with the team that long. He came like in October.
Okay.
Why would you say, I would send my Shannon Sharpe out. Like I'm going to send a team leader out to call the coin flip.
A lot of teams do.
Right?
So,
Okay.
I just skip it. I've seen they send their punter, they send the kicker. Occasionally they'll send, but not the long snapper.
The long snapper out to call the coin flip, and of course he calls tails, and it's heads. But what happened? My defense actually rises and shines and holds them. Yet on 3rd and 14, did they flip it to Etienne or he ran it? Anyway, that Nashawn Wright, who'd been in for Boss Man Fat, he bangs his head up against Etienne. They stop him short and force a punt, but he's out of the game. And now I'm like, oh, my God. So he tries Tony Pollard again, and he gets 6 yards. Okay, well, 6 yards is pretty good. And then it's 2nd and 4, and they try Tony Pollard again, and he gets none yards. I can't explain it to me, but at this point, to my eye, and this is what was most disturbing about this whole game yesterday, I felt like my offensive line was getting whipped and my defensive line was getting whipped. Okay, so on both sides of the ball, 2 lines of scrimmage that have been lauded all year. And by the way, I did have Tyron Smith back at right tackle, not left tackle. And so I thought, well, here we go.
Right.
But I didn't see that it really manifested as a dominating offensive line yesterday.
It's hard. I mean, the guy, you see, now all of a sudden, if you notice, Skip, they're starting to put right tackles into the Pro Bowl. Because you used to have just 3 left tackles. Well, when you play left, that's a different stance. And you going against guys, you going against a Derek Thomas, and you going against...
He did it like in his rookie year, but that's like 16 years ago.
Like 10, 11 years ago.
Okay.
So it's a lot harder than people think it is.
All right, so now we get to the fateful play, and it's 3rd and 4 to 47, and Dak actually makes a pretty good play. I don't know what to do. So was it a poor pass? No, it wasn't a poor pass. Is it Dak's fault? No, it's not Dak's fault. Noah Brown was diving for the football, which I don't know exactly why he thought he needed to leave his feet. We've seen this happen before. There was nothing in stride. Was it just too low? He felt like he had to go to the ground for it. But it hit him in the hands, and it just tended to bounce out just the right direction because Jenkins is a safety. So he's not being covered by Jenkins. No. Jenkins just happens to be in the right place at the very rightest time, and he snatches it right up off the turf, and he's off to the races, and nobody's home.
You're not asking yourself, why does Dak have so much confidence in Noah Brown?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, you saw this in overtime.
And he's gone. Overtime versus the Raiders, what happened? He threw it behind Noah Brown, who did get hands back on the ball and couldn't hang on. And then Derek Carr, you know what the rest of the story was.
Last week, his interception, what were you trying to do? Trying to go to Noah Brown.
He's trying to go to Noah Brown. Weirdly, Cooper Rush went to Noah Brown more successfully than Dak has because they're scout team partners, right? And yet, the way they were raving about T.Y. Hilton, is it possible that by the Philly game, I don't know if it's too soon, but will he start to take some of Noah Brown's reps? And by the way, Michael Gallup ghosted us yesterday. I don't know where he went.
No. Y'all ghosted him.
Well, you could argue. You
only gave him 2 targets.
I don't know. I don't understand it. It's not like he had some shut-down corner on him on the other side. No. I have no idea. I don't get it. But in the end, I despised just about everything I saw yesterday. And yet, I was fearful after the game that we were still in some danger of losing out and missing the playoffs. And then when the Giants stole that game last night, at least we got a reprieve. We're in. So now it's time to start anew. Now you have to rebuild. What did Coach Landry always preach about? You have to streak into the postseason. You can't stumble backward into the postseason. So what if they do lose out because they're in danger? They got Philly, they got at Tennessee, they got at Washington.
I don't believe they'll lose out. But I told you, I said, Skip, if you lose this game to Jacksonville, you're going to render the game against the Eagles moot. Because, Skip, they're not going to lose out. And you're not going to win out.
No. So now, it doesn't mean anything except it means momentum, rebuilt momentum. That's all it is. Can you start over against the Philadelphia Eagles and then go win a game at Tennessee, which is on Thursday? So you got a short...
What do you got, 3 games in 12 days?
Yep. And then you go to Washington, and again, they're your arch rival.
And Washington might need that game to get into the playoffs.
They well might.
You've already secured your spot. So if you win another game, Skip, I believe you'll be locked into the 5th spot. If anybody, I think everybody's like, man, please let us get that 5th spot. Please let us get that 5th spot. We got Tampa, and they're reeling.
All right, and I agree with that, except I know you disagree, but they still have that quarterback, and if they start getting any healthier than they are right now, I would dread having to deal with them. I would just dread it.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Subscribe here to get the very latest from Skip and Shannon. Plus, go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.